Alright, maybe some of you are getting tired of it starting to look like the Karevek channel, but some of you might really enjoy seeing the decision process as I tune this deck to get it to where I want it to be. And I think I finally figured it out. I finally got it in the place I want it, and it works pretty good. So, let's go over the changes. Gravecrawler is out, because even though I like it, even though it's been in the deck for a long time, it was incumbent that it's just outlived its usefulness. So 1 black for 2/1 that can't block. Yeah, if I have a zombie, I can get him back out for 1 black, so I can use him to sacrifice to Helm of Possession, to Phyrexian Tower, but essentially I'm only netting 1. It just becomes a swamp, since if I sacrifice him and I cast him again. Goblin Bombardment he works well with. I can do a point of damage. But he's just not cutting his weight, so I'm going to take him out and put him in the place of honor in my art binder. What he's being replaced with is Goblin Welder. Grave Welder. What would Grave Welder do? Anyway, so Goblin Welder, 1 red, so I'm not changing the overall CMC by this edition. I'm just shifting it to red, which red is kind of underrepresented in the deck anyway. It's far more heavy black. Exchange target artifact or player controls for artifact in that player's graveyard. 1/1 instead of 2/1, but I didn't expect him to be attacking much anyway. Since I put in Goblin Welder, I decided to take out Wheel of Fortune. Some of you might think, why the hell would you take out Wheel of Fortune? Well, one of the reasons is it doesn't give me much control. So everybody throws away their hand and draws 7 new cards. So I've got 2 of the lads. There's 14 new cards that can be used against me. Sure, some of them are going to be lands, some of them won't matter. But it doesn't give me as much control over the situation. I'm going to give Wheel of Fortune to Aurelia for the rebuild that I presented yesterday. Yeah, I won't have much control there either, but it is what it is. So, with Wheel of Fortune out, I am putting in Memory Jar. So Memory Jar works very well with Goblin Welder. Not only do I get the control of everybody exiling their hand, drawing 7 cards, and then throwing away whatever they can't cast, and keep in mind if I do it on my turn, they cannot cast anything they got unless it's an instant. So they're pretty much going to be throwing away those 7 cards. It's kind of mill for 7 if I do it on my turn. Plus with Goblin Welder, I can sacrifice an artifact and get Memory Jar back. So one of the things I wanted in this deck is a bit more card draw, and being able to recur the Memory Jar gives me a bit more of that in a roundabout way. It's like drawing cards with extra steps. So other changes. I have 8 mana rocks in this deck. That's a lot. And I was going through my binder and I realized I have Burnished Heart. So I'm taking out Recto Signet. I could have taken out pretty much any mana rock. Talisman of Indulgence I probably should have taken out because it does 1 damage to me if I hit it for black or red. But it's in German, and I like having all the German cards in Kaervek. So Recto Signet comes out, and Burnished Heart comes in. 3 for a 2/2 artifact creature, which I can weld up. If it's in the graveyard, not only can I recur it with my creature recursion, I can recur it with Goblin Welder. 3, sacrifice it. Go look for 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped. I can do it as an instant. Of course, if somebody attacks you, you can declare it as a blocker, activate the ability. The creature they attacked you with is still blocked, and you get 2 lands. The possible downside is if I play this, let's say I don't get any mana rocks but him. I have my starting hand, and I've got Burnished Heart, a few lands, some other stuff. So if I play him on turn 3, somebody could kill him because they're trying to screw me over because they see I need the lands. So that's something that I have to consider. I also decided to take out Army of the Damned. This is a tougher decision to make because it's not as linear. The CMC doesn't really matter, because if I get Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, and if I get Cabal Coffers out, I'm going to be generating enough mana for sure. If I get Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, and I've got enough Devotion to Black, same thing. But I realized, thinking about it, trying to figure out what to cut for the card I show you that I cut it for, it's a win more card. It's really only good if I have Purphoros out or Terror of the Peaks. And with all the other creatures, it's kind of the same. Terror of the Peaks is still good. Purphoros is still good. I've got a lot of small token generators. This doesn't hit as hard, or they don't hit as hard as this does. But the clincher was that they come into play tapped. So 13 2/2s that are tapped, so they can't defend me. Yeah, like I said, if I have Purphoros, it's 26 points of damage. If I have Terror of the Peaks, again, that's 26 points of damage, that's 13 shocks. But, because I needed something to deal with creatures with indestructible. I needed some way of dealing with... I needed some way of dealing with other creatures. So, Toxic Deluge. My daughter came in and she likes the music in the background. So, Toxic Deluge is going in. This is a toss-up between Toxic Deluge and Black Sun Zenith. Black Sun Zenith, of course, costs 2 black and X. So this costs me life to get the creatures neg X, neg X. Black Sun Zenith costs mana. And it gets shuffled. If it resolves, it shuffles back in your library. I went with Toxic Deluge because I have a couple ways of gaining life in the deck. So the life loss shouldn't be too onerous. Also, I can cast it sooner. So if, like my buddy the other night, if he's got a lot of merfolk that are 4/4s, 5/5s, because he's got so many lords and so many counters on them, I tried to kill them with Blood on the Snow, and he gave them indestructible. And I was just, oh yeah, okay. So Eldrazi guy and I, our creatures die, and your merfolk don't. Okay, next game. If I had had Toxic Deluge, I would have killed all those merfolk. Oh, they're indestructible. I don't give a shit. They all die. So Toxic Deluge is going in. Some other cards I want to talk about since I'm on it. Jablard Task Mage. So she's 3 for 2/2 human Spellscraper. 1 red, throwaway card, destroy a blue permanent. So she needs a Distorting Lens if you're going to play her. 2, discard a card, Incinerate. 7, discard a card. Oh, what the hell is it? It's from the dark. It does the same thing. Discard. You spend 7, and everything takes 6 points of damage. There are so many cards I can't remember all the names sometimes. It is what it is. So anyway, I used to have a deck years ago where she was the commander. It didn't work. The idea was it would be a standoff deck. It would deal direct damage, it would deal standoff damage, Earthquake, Fireball, Rolling Thunder, Jablard, other creatures that deal damage without attacking, without combat. The problem is red is not a good primary color in EDH, in my experience. Some of you might have a different experience, different opinion about it, but for me red is a support color. It needs something else to go with it. And I was thinking, when I saw Fiery Emancipation, maybe it's time to rebuild Jablard. And then thinking it through, I don't see how red has some of the protections, some of the other ways of controlling the game, of recovering during the game, that the other colors have. For example, a friend of mine has Daretti, and it's effective, but the couple games he's won have shown us how effective it is, and it's artifacts. It's not really red, it's artifacts, and we go after him because we know we have to stop him. And he can't really stop us because he doesn't have counter spells. He doesn't have Swords to Plowshares effects. He doesn't have exile creatures, that sort of thing. He could with some cards, but it's just not enough. So he gets steamrolled. For that reason, I'm not going to rebuild J.A. Ballard as a mono red deck. I'm trying to think of the second color that I would use. In Kaervek, because Kaervek is a bit of a standoff damage deck, a lot of the creatures I don't intend to attack with, a lot of the effects, Goblin Bombardment, Goblin Sharpshooter with a Bassus Collar, and so on, skip the combat damage, skip the combat step, and I just snipe at things. The problem is if I put her in Karevek, there's some of the cards that I would want to put in too, and it would really change the character of the deck. So I'm offhand thinking of what second color I want to play her with, and obviously she would not be the commander, and how to build the deck. So if I put J.A. Ballard, Task Mage, in a deck, in addition to the aforementioned Distorting Lens, well, I'm going to want Squee, because if I toss Squee to activate one of her abilities, he'll come back during my upkeep. And I'll want him just to toss to her. Also, since I'm at it, if I'm doing direct damage, I'm going to want Kumano, Master Yamaboshi. I've always liked Kumano. Because it's only 1 damage, and he costs 5, but 5 for 4/4 in Kamigawa was pretty good. I need a way of giving him Death Touch, which isn't too hard, Bassus Collar, Vorpal Sword if I go black. But 1 in a red, he deals 1 damage target creature player. I'm thinking maybe I'll try him in Aurelia, because if he's tapped, if I've tapped him for counter negotiations, and I'm not attacking with him because Angel's Trumpet is making me, I can still use his activated ability even if he's tapped. He can also finish off creatures. So after combat, if a couple creatures only have 1 or 2 damage left on my opponent's side, I can finish them off and they get exiled. So that's the second ability. If a creature dealt damage by Kumano would go into graveyard, exile instead. But if I'm going to make a direct damage deck, let's go all in. Come on, Pit Fighter. 2 red and 4 for a 6/1. I really wish he was 6/2. I don't like that it's not even thirds. So he deals 3 damage, haste, target creature player. Because he didn't come to play, he came to win. And if I put Kamal in a deck, he wants his sister to join him. 4 for a 3/1 first strike haster. Tap, deals 1 damage target creature player. So these are some cards that I would put in if I built a real standoff direct damage deck. I'm still wondering if I don't want to put these in Aurelia, but that's really going to pull the direction even further from the tokens that I've decided to go to. I'm not sure what the second color should be. Maybe I would do Niv-Mizzet the Firemind. Niv-Mizzet the Firemind, every time you draw a card you can deal a point of damage to something. Maybe I would do red and blue, where I've got the theme of the deck would be standoff damage. Ignore the combat step. What do all of you think? Give me your ideas. Let me know what commanders you think would be good as some kind of standoff damage deck. Obviously Kaervek is appropriate for it because he himself is a standoff damage creature, but I already have a Kaervek deck. I don't want to make a second one, and I don't want to change 5 cards in the deck because that would really change the character of what it is now. And like I said at the beginning, I've got it in a good place now. Next Thursday, I'll take it to the EDH night that the lads and I have, play it, and let you know how it goes. Cheers.